Hello, welcome to Living Well Today. I am Angela Moonen, and I welcome you here to this space where every week we talk about creating harmony and beauty and peace in every area of our life, at work, at home. I have my blue light glasses on today. They definitely work. My eyes feel better after using them. So here we are. Do I look smarter with them on? So I'm very excited about today. And I'll try when I get excited, my voice gets higher and it gets faster. So I'll remind myself to keep it slow and steady and centered. Today marks the beginning of what I am calling Drop the Mask series on mindful leadership. And mindful leadership requires and asks of us to go beyond our why. You can have the most beautiful why in the world, but if you're showing up with only part of you or hiding part of you, and we'll talk about what are those masks, what do they sound like, what do they look like, what do they feel like to us when we wear them, and then to those around us or in our charge we are there to serve. And how you show up, the way that you show up, is as much or more important than your why. They really, in a sense, they work together. Today's episode is beyond the why. We've heard a lot. Simon Sinek, many different circles talk about your why, your reason for being, your purpose, your direction, your compass, your North Star, all of these metaphors. What I'm here today to talk about beyond the why, mindful leadership without the mask. Why is that important? Because your purpose and knowing your North Star, that's vitally important. Of course, you want to know your essence, your fuel, your driving force. Mindful leadership asks you something more. It asks you to line up with your why, yes, but also in a way that helps you be present and conscious about the way you are showing up, how you're showing up, the words that you're using, the ripple effect you're creating in everything that you do. So we'll explore those subtle roles and expectations of what we wear at work, the masks we wear at work, wear at home, wear out at the networking dinner, whatever it might be. Some can call it archetypes. Every archetype is a different type of mask. You take this off and you put this on. The idea that we continue to work toward becoming and unfolding and in letting it reveal itself, in a sense, in layers through every week after week here on Living Well Today, is integration of all of the parts of ourselves and honoring each of those parts, including the shadowy parts, the vulnerable, itsy bitsy parts that maybe are less attractive. And yet they're real and they're very much a part of you. So when we drop the mask and we lead from a place of be here now, of presence. I did a webinar on this actually last night around here and now power. When we lead from that place, coupled with knowing why we're doing what we're doing, that's real power. That's real servant leadership. So beyond your why, rather than focusing on find your why, be that visionary, be that mindful leader that is conscious of cultivating kindness and compassion and creating space for growing, for growth, for both yourself and everyone in your circle. Knowing why you do what you do brings clarity. It can energize you. I know why. It can pull you through some tough days. Your why is one piece of the story. And mindful leadership isn't just about why you show up. It's how you show up. And how you show up is people feel that. Your team feels that. You feel that. Your community, the people that in your church, your family. The masks that we wear, let's talk about those for the next few minutes, because this might be an interesting concept for some. They might say, oh no, it's just me. We all wear them. We wear masks for protection, so that we're not embarrassed. Masks aren't bad. They're human. Becoming aware of them and what we're wearing in the moment is simply one more layer to integrating yourself and becoming more awake in all facets of your life and work. So sometimes, we don't want to show a certain emotion, so we cover that up. Sometimes we think it might not be safe. Somewhere along the way, we thought it might not be safe to show the real us or the full us or that part of us, so we bury it. Masks can look and sound like this. I've got it all together. I'm so busy. I got to get here because I'm so busy. The I'm so busy is an excuse. It's really, really, what's the right word? I want to be gentle. It's a lazy, you think, and we think by saying, I'm so busy, I've got so much going on, that it gets you off the hook from being your word, from keeping and being your word, or for creating compassion or space or patience in that moment with someone who might really need you. I've got too much else to do. I've got to focus on this right now. So that's a mask. I'm so busy. Another is I've got it all together. I've got this. I've got this figured out. And while some of that is important self-talk, that self-encouragement, sure. But there's also alongside that a need to recognize that you're taking a particular posture at that moment. And that posture can sometimes put up a wall between you and someone who might be trying to help you or reach you, communicate with you. Another mask is that you always have to know the answer. And I think we all fall into this because we worry about the imposter syndrome, right? We've heard about that. I did a show on it once. What if they figure me out? What if suddenly I'm not as smart as I think I am? What if they see that I don't know something? As a leader, not knowing something, people are afraid that somehow that makes them weaker if they don't know something. That's not true. That's not true. The need to stay in control. So the mask of controller, okay? This, very regimented. I've got it under control. It's a fallacy. There's very little you actually can control. The only thing you can control is that which is within yourself. No external circumstances are controllable. You think you're managing them, and you may be managing parts through force and coercion and manipulation, I'm not saying always, right? We can manage a household, we can manage a business. So there are aspects that are controllable. But the invitation is to actually let go of some of those reins, to take that mask off and be pleasantly surprised at the ease and the help that can show up when you do. I can't show weakness. Or if I'm wrong, I don't apologize. Those are all masks, things that we put on that somehow we feel they're armor, they're protection. They can serve us for a time. Masks can serve us for a time. They can help us navigate a challenging situation, for sure. Over time, the masks can get fixed. They can harden if we're not aware of them. They can separate us, from our true self. They can separate us from others. And really can create not a false you, because it's part of you, but it covers up, you see. It covers up. It doesn't allow, it's like, if you've got a candle burning and you put the cover 2/3 of the way over, is the flame still flickering? Maybe you haven't fully extinguished it, but does it flourish as if it would if the cover was lifted? That's what we're talking about. And sometimes there's a time for a cover, but not all the time. And if we can't open up to the idea that this is a possibility for us, that some of these masks that we've put on have hardened, that they have created this persona that maybe it doesn't reflect all of us. Certainly, you can tell by the business owner who maybe started out the business because they started out something someone really loved. Like, how about they started out a sign company? They really loved the graphics and the artwork, and the over time, they're doing less and less of the artwork and more of the babysitting of the employees as they see it. And they've covered up the joy and the essence of why they started the business in the first place. You see? We've all heard those stories, and maybe you've experienced some yourself, of where you started a project, you decided to turn it into a vocation, and it's lost its luster along the way because it's gotten covered up and buried with all of these other responsibilities. Those responsibilities, each one of those, required us to put on some kind of persona or mask. Did we ever take it off? Did we ever take it off, or has it become hardened potentially as a part of us and kept us stuck in some way in that place? So people can sense when there's a mask. They might not articulate it. They'll never articulate it as such. But they feel something's there, like there's this wall. I'm not really seeing the real them, the true them. They can feel it. And it keeps them at bay from bringing their whole full selves to the table too. We've seen this. I mean, I've experienced it in relationships. If you're wearing a mask, you're trying to please the other partner, and you're not being fully transparent about something, and you're wearing a particular mask, then maybe not right away, but over time, there is that sense of, I get this sense that I'm not seeing the full story. I'm not hearing the full story. So that's why this series, Drop the Mask, because leadership, mindful leadership, invites us to gently set aside those layers. It asks us to come as we are, and come as we are in a more raw, real way. It's like I could sit here without the glasses and I could look and after I get done with this, my eyes are going to be bloodshot. And by the way, if you're suffering from that too, and I realize between the screen time on my iPad, my cell phone, and my computer, I'm getting more. And at first I thought it was pollen season, but it's just almost 24/7 now. So I'm mitigating it, and boy, I can tell as soon as I put these on, it takes that blue, it takes that glare off. It feels better. So I'm putting the glasses on, not a mask, but as a way to say my eyes hurt. I'm spending too much time scrolling on the computer, not enough time out in the sunlight. Sunlight's actually really good for your eyes. The sun has gotten a really bad rap. But you've heard me talk about come as you are over the last several weeks. And it's not just a tagline. It's a way of being. It's a way of being. It's a way of accepting and saying, I am good enough. I learned this many, many years ago. Every therapist, every psychologist, every psychiatrist who's worth their salt will tell you that every patient, every client, when you boil it down and boil it down and boil it down, every issue, every challenge comes from one of two places in the human psyche. I'm not good enough. What if I'm not good enough? And the other one is, what if they don't love me? You can boil them all down. We can sit here and debate this, but I'm going to tell you, I've studied this for the last 20 years. And you can boil it down to those one of two things. I'm not good enough. They won't love me. And you could say, well, that's all right. I don't rely on others. We are social creatures. Do some human beings select to live in isolation? They do. Is it the healthiest way? No, because that's not how we're wired. We're social creatures. So it goes against your science and DNA as a human being. So where mindful leadership begins, and by the way, when I say leadership, this could be in your household, certainly at work, certainly in your community, in your church, in your school, but this could be right in your own home. There are naturally by default leaders in each household. And too many cooks in the kitchen, right? You've heard that, too many cooks in the kitchen, meaning to get to a congruent household, there's always someone who's kind of the leader, the pioneer of that household. And that way, and at times, one will shift out of that and let the partner lead, and then out of that and let the other partner lead, like this dance. So when you come as you are, in power, in your power, when you come as you are, you're in your power. You say, not the polished version, not the all together version all the time, but the real version, the human aligned, soulful version. When you do that, you give others permission to do the same. It's wonderful. Take off the masks. It's where trust really begins. It doesn't matter whether it's at home or at work. That's where trust begins. And where mindful leadership begins. Presence, in that presence. How am I showing up today? Am I showing up guns a-blazing and I've got this all figured out? Meanwhile, I'm not saying, I get it. If you just had an argument at home, to step into the office, you want to come in a real way. You don't want to bring all of your problems in and shed those problems onto others. I get that. But what I'm saying is you don't bury that argument either. Before you walk across that work threshold, you get good with yourself. You get real with yourself and you say, you know, I might not be 100% today. I'm going to give whatever I've got. I'm going to give the world the best I've got today. And maybe the best I've got today is 80% or 70% or 50%. But I will show up and I'll be mindful that I feel this hurting. I feel this unrest and uneasiness because of the disagreement I had this morning at home. I feel that. It's okay, you know. I'll transmute that. I'll reconcile with that. And I do, it is important that I address that tonight. We're going to have a more kind and patient conversation tonight. And in the meantime, I'm going to foster kindness and patience here today with my employees. You see the transition and the power in that versus coming to work and shutting the door on that other and locking it away like it doesn't matter. I'll address it at 5 o'clock. It's not the healthiest thing to do, living in silos. It's not healthy. It will show up in your body somewhere eventually, because every emotion that's locked away and not transmuted and not released, every one of, and really felt and embraced fully in that moment, whether it's anger, fear, frustration, sadness, any of those lower vibration emotions, if you don't deal with those, if you don't take off that mask and get with it, sit with it, allow space for it to really feel it. I really feel the sadness. I really feel the discomfort. I'm honest with myself. I'm not going to bury this discomfort. It's there. Why? And ask the question, why? What is it that I'm feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? And release it. And say, okay, I get that. You know, and this might happen in layers. It's okay if I don't release it all right now. I'm angry or I'm hurt or whatever it might be. But sit with it and honor it and see it and feel it. And by feeling it, you're already releasing it. You're already transmuting it. What happens when we stuff it down and we lock it away and we put on our mask, that gets buried somewhere in our cells and our tissue and our muscles and our blood and our brain. And it will come back to bite you. There's no getting away from it. All right. I mean, that's why so many healing practitioners now are doing so much more and more good work, because people are waking up to the realization that there's got to be a better way than pretending that I'm not hurt or stuffing this away and I got this and, you know, boss power and girl power and woman power and all of this. And I'm going to, you know, beef up and dress like a man, put on the suit because I'm CEO. So I'm going to put on the suit. I'm going to toughen up. And I'm going to show them I don't show emotion. And somehow that makes me stronger wearing that mask. How has that approach helped our world? I want you to tell me that. I want you to think about that. I look forward to your comments on this particular episode. I'm open to them all. How has that approach helped? Maybe it's made shareholders more profits, I guess. Has that helped? What's the shape of what's the condition of our world? How are people's health? How is their mental health? How is their patience? How is their compassion, kindness? I'm talking on a large, large scale. I think we've had the tough love, hard power, hard driving, hard driven negotiations and power. We've had that long enough. I don't think it's been effective on the whole. What the world is seeing through all this clashing and conflict is that soft power, power that comes through presence and compassion and empathy. It's female in nature. Okay? It's the yin, the receiving power, not the yang, potato, not the yang, not the masculine. What we're seeing are those things within us, and we all have male and female within us. The divine goddess and the divine God. We have those two elements within us. If you feed one too much and not feed the other, and the other side starves, that's when you're out of balance. That's when the world is out of balance. You can be both. In other words, for women in general to be empowered and to stand in their full radiance and their full voice and their whole full self and honor every aspect of themselves, they don't have to make men smaller, which is what's happened, right? The pendulum has swung in the other direction. You know, I have one of my dearest friends on the planet who tells me he feels completely marginalized and like a eunuch because he's a man. When he walks in a room, there's been so much shaming around men and masculine. And no, we need strong men, but we need men who are strong, who recognize the compassion and patience and kindness, the feminine aspects within themselves, and to integrate that and to balance that, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And that through that integration is where the real 100% power is. And no one else has to suffer for you realizing that. So I'm asking, what masks do you wear? What mask of protection, armor, safety, control do you put on when you walk into the workspace or walk into the home space? How are you showing up? Because your why might inspire you, but your how is what touches people around you. That how, it's the lens through which the why emanates. Is that the right? I've got to come up with the right metaphor for this. I can feel it right now in my body. How do you start? I'm not here to tell you to just throw off your mask today. It might not be realistic. But when you do, and as you do, you will begin to notice, this is my promise to you, you'll begin to notice how people respond to you. Notice when you're slipping into a particular role or archetype. Notice when you're moving further from your center into a supposed role. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to be this. I have to be tough. I have to be guarded. I have to be relentless. I must be busy. I must multitask to prove my worth and my value. Are those beliefs and stories that you're telling yourself, which ultimately are a mask, are they true? Are they really true? I'm going to offer to you that they may not be. Notice when you're performing instead of being present. And I talked a little bit about this last week. I grew up on the stage, so I have a tendency to think about performance over presence. Then I went from the stage into sales. And everything in sales is about performance and presentation. Yes. But presentation because I've got some slides and I'm trying to get a particular outcome, not because I'm really mindful and present in the moment with my audience. And there's a difference. There is a difference. And I'm learning that difference more and more every day, every week that I do this. I'm better and better understanding. Here I am. Here I am. And I am a channel and a conduit for helping people see their own power and feel and experience the breadth and depth of that power and how to connect to that presence and be in that moment with me and me with them. Fully engaged, eyes wide open, ears wide open, ready to collaborate, ready to connect. Yeah. So notice when you're holding back something that's really in your heart, something that really matters to you. Notice if you're putting a damper on that. Just notice it. Because through the noticing of it, now it's conscious. Now you can make a new choice. When it's running in your subconscious, you can't make a new choice. Before your next meeting, take one breath. Place a hand on your heart, if it feels comfortable, and ask yourself, what's the energy I want to bring into this space? Am I leading from my role, from my mask, from my title? Or am I leading from my presence? Even that one breath sometimes. One breath, one pause can cause just enough space and create just enough space for the real you to peek through, to come through. And as you feel that, it's so juicy. It's so yummy. It's so good. I promise you. Tapping into emotions are not a bad thing. They're a really, really good thing, even if sometimes they feel bad. And sometimes they do. That's part of the gig. That's part of the deal. Two sides to every coin. Integrating the two sides of that coin. That is the why. That's the purpose. Becoming aware of your own self, reconnecting, being present. And that doesn't require a mask. It's just you. It's just who you are. Name what's true. Here's another quick exercise. If you don't know the answer, say so. I don't know. I don't know that. That's a great question. I don't know. I'm curious though now about that. I want to know. If you don't know the answer, say so. If you're feeling uncertain, acknowledge it. I'm feeling really uncertain about this. Let me feel into this a little bit more. Let me become aware of what is it, I wonder, that's so uncertain about it. It feels like shaky ground. These small acts of honesty, they don't erode trust, they build it. First within yourself and then with others. And you watch as you, and trust has been my lifelong pursuit. As you build more and more trust in yourself to show up using all your faculties, that presence builds more trust. And as you build that up in yourself, you build it up with others. You'll trust others more and more, and they'll trust you. It's a reciprocal. That kind of leadership is what makes the world better. Not tough love. Not tough love. So, as we wrap up, 35 minutes, what mask have you been wearing lately? And I know for me, mine is, I got this all figured out. I'll do this and I'll do this. I've been through this before. I got this again. I'm aware that I'm putting that mask on. What might happen if you loosen the mask, even just a little? As the leader at work, as the breadwinner, quote unquote, at home, if you just decided for one night, one morning, 1 minute to take that mask off, what might happen? I'll tell you one thing. The sky's not going to fall. No one's going to find you out. You're not suddenly going to be less valuable. You're the same person, except you're now showing up more real, more authentic. Yeah, more in touch with you, more in touch with others, because you don't have that barrier. Yeah. Next week, thank you, first of all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to drop the mask. And next week, we're talking about drop the mask, the role of vulnerability in leadership. The role of vulnerability in leadership. Now, Brene Brown she kind of made the word vulnerable a buzzword. But vulnerability has been there every time since you were a little kid, when you said, I need help, when you said, I don't know, when you said, I'm hurting, when you said, I'm lost, I don't know what to do next. It's always been a part of your life. How well do you express it? How well do you get real with it? And what role does it play? What doors does it open? It's magnificent, the doors that it opens, particularly for leaders. So the role of vulnerability in leadership, we'll talk about why vulnerability is not a weakness and that it's actually a bridge to a deeper connection and a deeper level of trust. If you are ready to take mindful leadership more deeply into your own life and work, join me on AngelaMoonin.com. Consider the Golden Circle Mastermind, where we mastermind each week about topics just like this and get very granular and specific about circumstances that are going on. I talk often about we are the sum of the people we spend the most time with. And what that really means is that's why mastermind groups are so powerful, is because who you converse with, who you share, who you learn from, who you model and reflect off of makes all the difference in the quality of your life and work. So, and there's also a program that I have called the Mindful Leader that is a 7-day program. I'm just actually updating it with some new content. As I learn more and more about this, I decided to go in and freshen the content a bit. So until next week or on any one of the social platforms, please drop your comments on the social platforms where you may have watched this, or direct message me, email me, bloom@angelamoonin.com, and we'll see you next week. Come as you are, lead as you are. That's where true leadership really begins to unfold at a whole new level for you. All the best for living well today, and we will see you next time.